there is a big focus, and doing nothing is definitely not an option.
Hi Patrick, thank you for being with us today.
Hi.
When people think about the chemical industry, they don't necessarily think about sustainability. But how big is the focus on sustainability within that industry?
Actually, it's a very big topic. The chemical industry is one of the largest users of energy. So there's been a huge focus on trying to reduce emissions in the production processes. That's the so-called Scope 1 and Scope 2. Now, Scope 3 is where the supply chain comes in, and that's where the focus is now beginning to move. We really picked that up. I was at Logichem 2022 in Rotterdam, and that was a big topic at the conference.
A lot around how can we also green the supply chain, given that in chemistry or in the chemical industry, most of the footprint that we have addressable is our own footprint, our own Scope 1 and Scope 2, but how can we also address or help address Scope 3?
So yes, there is a big focus, and doing nothing is definitely not an option.
And how can a chemical company make their supply chain more sustainable?
It's an important question, and I think it's a question of efficiency. So really we're talking about digitization, visibility, finding better ways of routing cargo in order to reduce the emissions that are actually taking place in the supply chain. And I think that's the efficiency side. We also need to think about what the chemical industry is doing around circularity as well. So there's a big focus now being talked a lot about not using virgin molecules, in other words, repurposing molecules which have been produced beforehand. That also creates a requirement on supply chains in order to support that.
So no matter how efficient and circular your supply chain is, you still have to move the goods. So how can this be made better?
Actually, that's an important question, because we clearly see that transportation and the emissions out of transportation is one of the areas where emissions are still going up. So a focus on being able to take down the emissions in each part of, or each link of the supply chain is vital. So customers should be looking for suppliers who have assets which can reduce emissions in each one of those links, whether it is ocean vessels, it's the use of electric trucks on land, or emission-free warehouses. That's absolutely vital. Now the thing is that if we look at some of the fuels that are needed in order to reduce emissions, there's not enough of those fuels, and therefore it's also it's a topic which needs a lot of collaboration actually in order to move that forward in the supply of fuels so that the assets can be run on those fuels.
So we talked about digitization, we talked about circularity of supply chain, we talked about biofuels. What else can be done?
Well, I think that all that comes together, and I just mentioned it, is around the collaboration. Last time we sat down together, I talked about trust, and I think collaboration works best with trust being between partners. That means we're talking about supply chain design, we're talking about the use of assets which are low emission, and really bringing all that together into a collaborative, trustful partnership. Because there are things out there which we haven't even thought of, which we need to design together, whether it's the chemical customer and producer or the logistics partner who are fulfilling the supply chains.
Thank you so much, Patrick.
Thank you.